Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Heidi from My Reading Life, here with a Friday night edition of Currently Reading. And for this Currently Reading, we're having a little nightcap here. It's been a long week. Gonna enjoy a cocktail while we talk about what books I'm currently reading. So the first book I'd like to talk about is Henrietta's War by Joyce Denys. And this is one that you've seen recently on my 5-star TBR predictions video, and it is it's a book of letters that were written during World War II. They were fictional letters from the home front, basically, in Britain, from a small village in Britain, and a woman wrote them, and they were published in a magazine or some kind of a periodical called Sketch, and they just are sort of slice of life and what's going on the home front, and it was designed to give the boys on the front lines something to look forward to and to boost their spirits. And I'm only a little ways in, but very charming and enjoyable so far. The second thing I'm reading is one that sat on my nightstand for quite a while and was sort of just sitting there for months. I had started it and then just for whatever reason just didn't pick it up again for a few months, but I've started reading it again recently, and it's World Without Fish by Mark Kalansky. This is a sort of middle grade, early high school sort of graphic novelist type nonfiction about why our fisheries, our ocean fisheries, are in trouble. And I'm enjoying that very much as well. My audiobook currently is Glass Houses by Louise Penny. I think I mentioned in my last Currently Reading video. I'm a few hours into it. I think I'm more than a few hours. I'm about halfway through it. Loving it. I love the Inspector Gamache series on audiobook. Highly recommend that. So that's a lot of fun. And then I picked up Hidden Figures by Margot Lee Shetterly, which is the nonfiction account of the black mathematicians that were hired during World War II by NASA, or NASA's predecessor, and then continued on through the space race and helped to get the first men into space. And this, so far, I'm about, I'm only, what am I on? I'm about 75 pages into it, and it is fantastic. It is such a great book. Already learning a ton of stuff that I didn't know. For example, one thing I didn't know, maybe you knew, but I didn't know, that it was an actual job title for NASA at the time to be a computer. People were hired and their job title was computer. So these women would go to work and sit in a room and basically do calculations all day long that would deal with the physics of flying, and they had to all do it all by longhand, and that was their job title, computers. Amazing. I didn't know that. So very interesting and enjoyable so far. Now, gotta have a little drink here. Yum. So today I made the mistake, I guess you could say, of going to my local library. Last week, when the announcement was made that the White House was discontinuing the DACA program, the young people who came here as illegal aliens with their parents, not by choice, and now are young adults, and there's 800,000 of them, that the president has now said that that program that has protected them is ending. That sort of got me thinking that I don't know an awful lot about immigration and immigration policy in this country, and so I hit up my local library today, and I came away with a few books to help me educate myself a little bit more about the history of immigration in this country and how we got to where we are, which is just an insane lack of empathy. So the first book I picked up is Coming to America, A History of Immigration and Ethnicity in American Life. This is by Roger Daniels. This is a chunker. I do not plan to read this cover to cover, but the latter half of this book is sort of about the modern immigration policies in America from like 1920 onward. I'm going to try to read that section of the book. just to give myself a better understanding of American immigration policy. And I think already I started reading this today, and just some of the charts and graphs and how immigration has changed over the last 100 years, like which countries immigrants are coming from now as compared to 100 years ago. It's very, very interesting. So this was going to give me a good background on that. The next book I picked up is called Life in America, Identity and Everyday Experience. This is edited by Lee Baker. And this this is more like a sort of, I guess, what a textbook would be. And this is a series of what I would call articles written by different authors on different topics having to do with immigrants and racial identity in America. I did read one of the articles already, called Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About Assimilation But Were Afraid to Ask by Marcelo Suarez or Orozco. And that was really interesting about how immigrants are asked to assimilate, how that process used to work, 200 years ago, and how it currently works, and how there's actual studies that have been done that show that immigrant children actually are better adjusted, more successful in school and in social life before they assimilate than after they assimilate. And it says something about American culture that that's the case. It says something about American culture when you look at the number of graduate students and PhD students that are children of immigrants and versus American, born here and have been here for 100 years. Very interesting. Learned a lot just from that one article. Again, I'm probably not going to read this whole thing, but I'm going to dip in and out and give myself some background in these issues. And the last one I bought on this topic is one that I've been on my list to pick up, and I've been wanting to read it for a few months now. Strangers in Their Own Land, Anger and Mourning on the American Right. This is written by Arlie Russell Hochschild. I probably mispronounced that, I'm sorry. And this author is a journalist, and she comes from California, and she decided that what she needed to do was to go into the rural red state areas of America and talk to people who are consider themselves conservatives, or the people that voted for Trump, and try to understand why they seem to keep voting apparently against their own best interests. And I believe she goes to a place in Louisiana, and most of the people that she interacts with in this research that she did were from that area. So I've heard this is a very good nonfiction account to help understand where we are today with American culture and politics, and hopefully it will give me some more insights into our immigration issues. And the last thing I picked up at the library, like I needed more things to read, is My Life with Bob, Flawed Heroine, Keeps Book of Books, Plot Ensues by Pamela Paul, who Pamela Paul is, she's the editor for the New York Review of Books. I believe she hosts their, I don't know if she's the editor, but she hosts their podcast, I know that, and she is involved with that. She's involved with the New York Book Review, basically. And she has kept a journal since her high school years, where she has listed every book that she's read without any commentary other than that. And this book, she talks about the books, how the books that she's read have give her an understanding of who she was as a person during those time periods of her life. And it helps her remember and reconnect with the person that she was at those times. So I've already read like the first 2 chapters in this. I love it. Book about books. I mean, how can you go wrong? I love those. So I'm going to be reading that. So that's quite a lot to be getting on with for the next week. I'm sure I won't finish all of them as my daughter is back to school, and so we've started back with soccer season and lots of things going on, but I am hoping to get through most of what I just outlined in the next week. I hope that you guys are having a lot of good reading and a lot of time for some good reading, and I will talk to you later.